Hello, my name is Ben Fox from IGS BIM Solutions, and today I'm going to take you through the Australian Turntable Company's latest Revit content offering. Through the course of this video, you can expect to gain a greater understanding of how the Revit families have been consistently created, an overview of the product ranges available in the Revit content, as well as the selection and placement of these Revit families in a project and the key driving parameters behind each family. In addition, an insight into how the Revit families are documented and scheduled in a sample project. The Australian Turntable Company has provided three main Revit families, allowing you to document turntables from 6.5 meters right up to 20 meters. In addition, there are standalone trucks that match the standard vehicle sizes. There's also a sample project illustrating how the individual families document and design in a project. What I'd like to do now is actually show you how one of the families are constructed and some of the key elements that have been considered in its creation. Like with all IGS Revit families, there is a brief disclaimer saying check the manufacturer's website for the latest information. You will also note that all reference planes have been named and set to the correct IS reference. Also, all geometry is driven from the reference planes. You'll also note that we've got our type and instance parameters all set up and driving from those reference planes. You'll also notice at face value that we've got our Omni classification set, and as per usual, we have set up the family type properties in a way that makes sure the end user only has to deal with specific constraints and construction parameters and steers clear of the other parameters that are all the calculation parameters from the family. In addition, we've got the standard identity data, and you will note that we have used shared parameters where possible from the Australian and New Zealand Revit standards and or the IGS standard parameters, allowing you to schedule and document in your project consistently the turntable product as desired. So as you can see, we have included some base types that Australian Turntables has specified. This family here goes from 6.5 meters up to 10 meters with either the 250mm set down or the 400mm set down. Now the actual families, as you will see here, are actually made up of a series of nested families that are all communicating and coming together in this parent family. But if we actually look at the main turntable nested family, you can start to see how it's driven, and again, all nice and neat and consistent. The parameters have been shared, so they report back to the parent family. In addition, you will note things like the masking regions have been applied, including the subcategories in all 2D line work, and then these have also been applied in 3D. But in this case, we've made specific subcategories because the Australian Turntable offering is not your standard specialty equipment, so we want them to stand out in your Revit project. We've also made sure we've purged out all items, deleted all additional fill and line patterns that come with the default out-of-the-box Revit family templates. In addition, you'll note that we've got rid of all the warnings. So in all the nested families, this is the process we have followed. We've tried to keep them as lightweight as possible, and at the end of the day, give you the most usability and flexibility in the end project, which we will now have a look at. I am now going to demonstrate how to use these families in your project. What we suggest, however, before we place them is to load them into Plan View as they are non-hosted, and this will load them in at the selected level. So I'm simply going to drag and drop the turntable in as we see here. I can then now grab it and place it wherever I would like. I also, based on the reference planes in the family, can align it centrally to the little room I've got set up here. I've just put some annotation lines to give me those center points. Once I have the turntable aligned appropriately, I'm then in a position to drag or align the actual control box to the wall. This is an instance parameter, so it simply has those pull tabs, which allows me to do that. I can now see my turntable correctly located in this room. If I wanted to create another version or add one of the larger turntables, I simply repeat that process. So if I go to floor plan and then I'm going to grab one of the large turntables, I simply drag and drop and place. And again, I align the control box. This time I'm going to use the align tool to do that. The next step is to actually cut the slab, because currently you can see the slab is not cutting, and because it's not a face-based family, it doesn't cut automatically. So what I need to do is go to the Modify tab, find Cut, and cut my slab accordingly. You will see that by default it cuts in a square fashion. You are able to change the slab cutout shape under the properties of the family. By default they're all switched on, but if I now just turn on the octagon, you'll see the octagon shape appear. If I just turn on the circle, you'll turn the circle shape appear. These allow you to create different slab cutout zones. These will be explained in greater detail soon, but this is where you activate the different functionality. The other aspects that you can change in the project here are whether the truck is centered via its wheelbase or whether it is centered via the actual truck on the turntable. We'll explain that soon as well when we look at turntable studies. And you can also pick different vehicles that you want to show on the turntable to illustrate different scenarios. You're also able to turn off all of the trucks and all of the slab cuts in order to just get a turntable. And in this case, you can then apply some of the turntable trucks that we supplied with the rest of the Revit families and create your own scenarios, like placing 2 small trucks on the one turntable. In addition, you can cut out your own slab based on your own scenario, which we can look at a bit later. 2 items I now want to have a look at is the cutout area as well as a turntable study. The first is the cutout area. These areas actually indicate the required slab zone that has to meet the height of the finished face of the turntable. What we suggest is discussing your specific requirements with Australian Turntables, as the Revit family certainly gets you a long way towards the actual documentation and details required for a given project, but for the specifics on the actual set down zones and finish levels, we suggest chatting to Australian Turntables directly. The next consideration I'd like to cover and demonstrate how the Revit content can help in actually understanding this is a turntable study. As demonstrated here in existing Australian turntable documentation, we have a rubbish truck placed on 2 different turntables, one a 6.5 metre, one a 9 metre. What this actually shows is that on the 6.5 metre, you require a larger rotation space, a bigger footprint in order to rotate the same rubbish truck, as you would on a 9 metre turntable. These same turntable studies are also now able to be produced in your Revit project. And what this will actually allow you to do is to place a variety of different trucks and turntables in your project and assess the impact. As shown again, a smaller turntable with the same size truck actually has a larger footprint requirement in order to rotate that truck, as opposed to when a larger turntable is used. Again, to illustrate the point, I can change my trucks and accordingly change my turntable requirement. Please do be aware that you can obviously put trucks on here that are potentially not possible. As mentioned earlier, it is possible to turn off all of the vehicles as well as the slab cuts on the turntable, leaving you just with the base turntable. You then will be required to create an in-place void model that will cut the slab so that the turntable and the finished face of your slab are aligned. As shown here, Once you have turned off all of the products and added the void, you're in a position to be able to visualize unique circumstances and vehicles that you want to rotate on your turntable. Feel free to get as creative as you would like. The final item I would like to demonstrate is the Australian Turntables sample project. As shown here on Load in Floor Plan, this sample project shows an overview of all of the standalone trucks complete with turntable study associated. In addition to the 6.5 metre to 10 metre turntable family, the 12.5 to 15 metre family, and the 17 to 20 metre family. We have laid these out based on the types that are supplied out of the box with the families, as well as supplying an overview of how they document in fine and medium detail, right through to coarse detail in pre-made views, as you can see the trucks disappear. We've also included pre-made elevations that show how the products document and give you the opportunity to start to play with the products before placing them in your project. We have also demonstrated how the products document in section, here demonstrating fine, medium, and coarse level of detail, where we only show the turntable itself. In addition, in the sample project, you can see a detailed schedule outlining all of the key shared parameters available to be specified by the end user. We trust that this Revit content overview video has been valuable, and should you have any further questions and/or specific project requirements, we suggest you contact Australian Turntables directly.